Thank you for joining us for another webinar from ITWeb and today CyberArk, our co-sponsors for today's event. We're going to be talking about identity security, the new approach to securing modern workplaces. It used to be that identity was convenient because you knew which door, more or less, you were going to go through using an identity. Not only does that not work anymore because we have now decentralized our IT estates through the cloud, through remote working, through a number of factors, including the proliferation of non-human identities, such as IoT, automated services, things like that. It's really changed the picture completely. Not only that, but we have more keys in our pockets these days. You have more than one identity very often. If you're lucky, you've got a single sign-on solution, but chances are you're logging into different services using different identities. Not only is this confusing, it's a major risk. If you're using the same password or even slightly the same password, that is something they can figure out. Not surprisingly, this is where criminals are focusing a lot of their attention. We used to talk about the dangers of legacy technology, of technical debt, or of other elements in an environment that cannot be secured quite the way we want to. Turns out they're not really the problem. The problem is the keys to the kingdom. If you can get someone's identity, you can get in there, you can worm your way in there.
And then, of course, the remote working challenge created new hurdles for security professionals. Not just the fact that people were working from home and needing to, install printers and do various things from home and therefore perhaps need more administrative rights from where they're working. They needed remote access to critical assets. And naturally, they were working in less secure environments than they were when they were sat in the office. So that whole zero trust type discussion really started to gain prominence around this point. Typically, when you look at insider threats, we look at the kind of disgruntled employee type situation. Many of the stories out there are disgruntled IT admins. And what are they exploiting? Well, they're exploiting the fact that they have far-reaching excessive permissions. Access rights that really don't ally to the principle of least privilege, right? And they're exploiting the fact that they have open, uncontrolled access. It's exploiting access, it's exploiting entitlements. It's done in a slightly different way, of course, than an external threat will do. But both of them are looking for those highly permissioned, highly entitled accounts that are going to allow them to get to their ultimate objective. PAM is a privileged access management as a service that users will need access to. It will need good governance around it. So that's user creation. If I'm in that Bob scenario, I'm a developer that needs access to server, well, I need access to PAM. So we need to make sure that as I join the organization, I'm automatically provisioned access in the privileged access management solution and configure with the right entitlements so I can request access to the right resources. And of course, once I'm configured, we need to do the right authentication. Now, whenever we talk about privileged access management, we wouldn't necessarily be talking about a password for that user. We'd be talking about MFA, for sure, multi-factor authentication. But if the question is regarding that I will need an account that's got privileges that I'm going to be using, how does that password get created? Well, it should all be transparent to me. If a privileged access management solution is configured properly, I should never see the passwords that I'm using for the accounts to connect to particular targets. Feel free to reach out to me, david.higgins@cyberark.com.
So we need to realize that attacks will happen and they are almost indiscriminate. Yes, we get spear phishing. Yes, we get highly targeted stuff, nation states, etc. The majority of this is, quite frankly, a mugger on the side of a street just waiting for the next person to walk past. This is what we're dealing with here. So it's good to know that we are getting to some salient points like identity where we can really build up defense, where we can really find those weak points and just make it harder. I believe this personally. Criminals are lazy. Sure, it's high risk, but they're looking for the shortest route to make some money. They're looking for the weak targets. If we make it harder for them, it makes a very big difference. David, that was a great presentation. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, James. Thanks, everyone.